being joined in by Mr. John Irath, is joining us live from Washington, D.C. He is a Senior Policy Director for the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. Is joining us live on this broadcast. Now, Mr. Irath, the contrast in terms of how some of the Western nations are approaching the process of funding and aiding Ukraine in this war is now pretty stark. I want you to weigh in to begin with in terms of, let's put it this way, the reception that Volodymyr Zelensky has had when he visited Washington. This time round, he's been faced with a lot of skepticism.
I think that what we see is very clearly a reflection of the domestic political situation in the United States, and a similar case in Poland as well. The changes in the reception are attributable largely to domestic politics. We're heading into the final year before a presidential election in the United States, and members of the Republican Party are trying to make President Biden seem to be as unfavorable as possible. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we have a difficult budget issue going on right now in the U.S. Congress, where the Congress is not able to come up with a way to fund the government beyond October 1st.
Right.
So everybody is worried about this, and it's a very serious issue, and I think that's what is occupying most of the attention of the lawmakers at this time.
All right, very interesting. And also, to talk a bit about how Poland now does not want to send any more weapons to Ukraine. Weigh in a bit on the statement that's been made by the Polish President Andrzej Duda, where he compared Ukraine to a drowning man with the potential that he could also take those who are trying to save Ukraine and could drown them as well. That's a very strong image of the condition that Ukraine presently finds itself in. Do you think Poland now is developing cold feet to back Ukraine in this war?
I think also this reflects some of the politics going on in Poland. Obviously, I'm not as familiar with the Polish situation as I am with that in Washington. But the president's coalition depends on votes from agricultural interests, and the grain issue is something that is very important to them. At the same time, there are continuing threats from Russia and Belarus to Polish territory and sovereignty, and I think Poland has to take those very seriously in preparing its own defense.
So we've seen what's the reception that Volodymyr Zelensky got in the United States. We've heard the Polish president say what he said. Do you think that this is a similar sentiment that will now start to begin echoing in other European capitals, like, for instance, in Paris and London and Berlin, and the other European nations also may develop war fatigue, which could in fact be now spoken about much more loudly?
I think there is a general sense in European capitals that the war is going on and it's a terrible tragedy, and there's a strong sense that everybody wants it to be over. But at the same time, what I'm hearing from my European friends is a sense of frustration at not knowing how to get there, how best to end the war. Nobody wants to see a victory for Russian aggression, would encourage such behavior in the future. But there is a sense that the suffering has gone on long enough, and
right,
that they want to be able to resolve it. And at the same time, you have to look at the role of Russian propaganda. It has been a continued Russian objective over time, since the Cold War and before, to divide NATO countries, to exploit divisions within them amongst NATO countries.
I think that's an important point that you've raised, but it remains to be seen as to how far the Western allies of Ukraine are in fact willing to back Ukraine in this war effort. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. John Irath, for joining us and getting us all those insights there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.